Thank you for being here and welcome to the Authors and Artists Festival Rewilding, our 4th annual festival. And my name is Leigh McLaughlin. I'm your host from Nature Culture. And we'd like to thank our sponsors, the New England Grassroots Environment Fund, Mary King, Kathy Cremens, and Rescue Poetics. The festival is brought to you with help from the Nature Imaginarium, Human Error Publishing, and Score.org. Thank you to everybody for being here, especially the people who are reading their beautiful poetry for us today. Each reader will have 7 minutes in this session. Our first reader is Erin Robertson.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Thanks for listening. I brought some poems that I've written about restoration and about wild elements kind of reasserting themselves in our landscape. I live in Louisville, Colorado, so we've experienced fire and flood in the recent past year. Options. Some places you can put a fence and watch willows return. Almost anywhere you can invite wolves who'll do the same thing. If you want, you can send a flood pulse down the Colorado so that mountains reconnect to ocean in a single sinuous line, brimming with rejoicing fish, rejoicing people. You can turn train tracks into bike paths, weapons plants into refuges. You can take poison out of the landscape until peregrines dodge skyscrapers. You can reacquaint lynx with the southern Rockies, then stand quietly where snowshoed paws have chased each other over impossibly deep snow. You can pull ludicrously long tap roots of hound's tongue, musk thistle, cheeseweed, knapweed, bindweed, loosestrife, roots so deep and desperate you can't believe the land could ever heal. And sometimes it can't, at least on our blink of eye scale. But one by one, you're making room for wildflowers to feed native bees and native shrubs to feed wild birds. No, you can't do it all, can't even do most, but you can pick one small bit of web to restring, one tiny row of stitches to reknit, even if it only means standing aside, letting the plow and chainsaw idle, not tallying cents, while life goes about its business of reconnecting. This one I wrote in 2020. We isolated at a cabin near Rollinsville, Colorado during the pandemic, and I had a daily practice of climbing Jumbo Mountain, the closest mountain to us. So this is Jumbo Mountain Speaks. Come rest your weariness on these hard rocks. A stiff wind will buffet your body, proving the heart entombed in your aching chest still beats. Face west, toward the long white wall of peaks, back to the cities, the fires, the shards. Those fights are for another hour. Feel your hardness drain into the rocks beneath your palms. Your porous bones no match for their fixed crystals. You were not meant for this. Your soft, bleeding body weeps water, not ice. Just sit and be while the wind works its way into you until your rage flickers out and there's new space between your ribs. I know what it's like to feel your heart mined out, set upon by pickaxes, swarmed by the rapacious, proving up on false claims of their right to strip the world of whatever life they like. And I know how to lie still night after night, staring unblinking into quiet stillness until my shoulders ease, how to outlast dismantling. It takes an achingly long time for ore to lose its currency, the forest to gain a voice, and scars to grow over. But just listen now to the exultant, tough little aspens reclaiming this mountain, their young leaves fizzing with joy, roots binding the wounded slope, proving Sometimes healing happens even in this brutal world. And this year, we're recognizing the 10th-year anniversary of the 2013 flood that affected most of the Front Range of Colorado. So I wrote this at the time, then after the flood. After the flood, there is no road to Gregory Canyon. There is crumpled, puckered, fissured asphalt, boulder-strewn, scoured. There is no road to Green Mountain Lodge. There is a steep-walled creek running in its place. Bluebell Canyon has let its belt out a few notches. You need a ladder to mount Saddle Rock. After the flood, the crashing power of 5 days of deluge overwhelms. I never took water for granted here. I read my Mary Austin before moving west, stopped and appreciated every thunderstorm, and never imagined there could be too much rain. Anything is possible, the creeks sing to themselves, renewed. And then at the end of 2021, we had the major Marshall Fire, which burned 1,000 homes, destroyed 1,000 homes in Boulder County. And shortly after that, we had another fire, the NCAR fire. So this was written after that one, which was kind of a more natural fire. Passion and flame. Ambling along the NCAR fire, the land's gone more green than black or gray. Yes, needles have browned and bark has blackened, but there's the overall sense that fire behaved. So unlike the twisted, charred, urban Armageddon Marshall Fire aftermath we drive by every day. It's good to sit still now in this green, burned place, to align my heart with the cleansing, renewing energy that naturally can be flame. It is possible to kindle yet not consume. And as this element teeters back into balance, my chest warms with reverence for it, like the Sacred Heart flanked by flame. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin Robertson. That was beautiful. Our next reader is Rebecca Durham.
Thanks for having me. Such a honor to be here with everybody. I'm going to read some poems from my book, Half-Life of Empathy and Lossless. They're both books, eco-poetry books. And if you're interested in checking them out, I have a website, RebeccaDurham.net, and you can find information there. Eco-melancholia in C. I learned to tell agates from quartz, overqualified now to sort basalt from cement. Your cement, our cemetery. If I were a grain of sand dollar, I would only know flow, no flow, disturbance or each essence. I would only feel the saturation. From halfway across, we share this and earth death. What cost? What cost? Wait, don't go. I could flash this water bivalent across grass, bivalent back and forth. Each drop drowns dry spaces. Oscillations become breaths. Mind holds agates by their emptiness, halfway across a balance that is lost. The next one I wrote after I got to meet a wolverine. We left to let them stew in their predicament. Irradiated gaze, the wolverine stops within feet of me, eyes me. The derivative of noiselessness roils between us. Amoeboid clouds hover over ozone holes. Who am I to know this animal? The instant pivots sharply to fill the cavern with more than the known whole. They always seek me. They find me open and listening. In an eternal moment, the mind is subsumed by the indispensable condition. She tucks me in her lope, my arms clasp her brown gait. I dredge snow, glacier lilies, and trilliums. The sky is peevish and the forest peevish, but somehow lavish. I shed my false density in the U and hold fast. Lashed to brisk vision, she derides the ultimate. I find the cedar trees intact, the creek still moving. My body no longer holds me and I spill out there among the argillite. In the thick of the giant correction, crises clot sufficiently gray. Why does she come so close? We find estrangement in tangibles, the perennial question of encounter. Why does she look at me like that? The lance of storm gnashes its groan across the wilderness, cracked and browned. In memoriam, cheap resources pile like swag. She could rip me open with those claws before I uncap the spray. What is left to empty? Everything since has been built with falseness. Eyes me, eyeing I. Consider Pleiades, responsible and traceable materials, products astrally astray. Consider darkness, no longer the body that smothers us. This argillite is ripple lashed, time stamped by crests and dips. Red waves in the forest, hot cliffs and heuchera. I'm walking in the mixed con glade through the cicada staccato. I catch a hint of bee balm, intuit a faint sedge scent. Desire affixes like bryoria on larynx. I hear an ever-waxing sound, grouse drum or thrush glissade. And you wanted to tether me to those silent, colorless mediums. Your shrill, dark loops don't slake me. In this wrapped forest fervor, my storm royals are boreal. Green needles spindle up. Hear the wildling wind, see the Red Sea thrashing, and I lashed to her mast. Sky proud touches, treetops, and never were such soundings, woven waves unraveling, an illuminated goldenrod scattered on hills, whirled with asters. When sparrows fledge, the alder's green faith spills the swarm and vents the whittled air, and we beside nominate the instant and gaze summon, the interior cobble and allow for the evolution of voices. Furrowed colossal loess with toppled trunks, as though we sipped salient swells of pliant lilacs and lived to bloom like azure plum chandeliers, and ask the fireflies pinwheeling pulse sentience and light, plus a tempered dome of geometry of cliff gusts, gusseted by coils and crystals, testament of vaulted atolls, the cries of eagles and cathedrals of consequence, and all trivial mass impassive past the glass. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. That was beautiful, Rebecca Durham. Our
Thanks.
next reader is Leigh Scarber.
Hello. Thank you so much, Rebecca and Erin. That was beautiful. I have 3 poems for you. The first one is called Southern Magnolia. I'm originally from Knoxville, Tennessee on Cherokee land. So here's Southern Magnolia. Somewhere in God's country, where the firefly's luminescence lights the southern skies, you'd find me high in the magnolia tree. Or was she the mother tree, the ancient beacon of summer, smelling like angels in honey-drizzled sunlight? With her sweet-blossomed arms, she welcomed weary hands for one last climb of the day. Tanned legs tangled in the limbs, intoxicated by scented adrenaline and the rush of climbing closer to the clouds, yet always tethered to the earth, rooted by the mother, the tree who held me when I couldn't be held. I would arrive to the top, heart racing, tree swaying, when the sun set to the cicada choir and the humidity hung in evening haze. I found out what it feels like to fall in love, there among the lightning bugs, and the silky whites of the petals. And being held when I couldn't be held, I heard her heartbeat, same as mine, same as Earth's, and my breath became hers and hers became mine. Anchor of my childhood, how could they not see your sanctuary of reverent reciprocity? You were more than hassle, more love than leaf litter. I collapsed in the crater where you stood, ghostly roots glowing, slowing, returning to feed the earth and still holding me when I couldn't be held. I wept over the bodies of your branches, bones stacked neatly next to the curb, taken out with the trash. You were home. Okay. This next one is called Art of Breathing, and it's about how I learned to breathe by going outside in nature. Art of breathing. Inhale. My first breath in this body came in with the force of a gale, and even though I looked in every corner of my room after that, I couldn't find the air, so I stopped searching. The medicine woman came, and in spite of her efforts to summon the breeze, from the depths of the darkness, there was only ashen silence. She prepared ceremony to return me to earth, from whence she knew I was born, and where I would retreat to the open breast of the mother and the ethereal wings of the sky. But when she carried me to the trees, my ears woke to the sounds of the night, and my eyes found the stars painted on the sky ceiling. Even though the wind was quiet, my lungs stretched open as if life had never left. So I learned that it was good to breathe in, and I so badly wanted to be good, but nobody told me that I should try breathing out sometimes. I tried to devour all the oxygen in the universe with a yawning, gasping hunger, but my lungs burned and my head felt light. And it still never felt like enough. Now, what would cause an infant to hold her breath? They whispered sometimes, running to the bronchi trees so that the alveoli berries may remind me to open mine. But no one bothered to peel back the layers and study the fascia under the skin and wonder if I harbored the scars of our ancestors like burls on trees. It turns out you can't breathe in centuries of air for your family who were forbidden to breathe, but I was prepared to spend my life trying. Running in the mountains, the rocks sprung up from the ground and forced the air from my lungs, and it became the only way I reliably knew how to exhale. What are you running from? The wise woman asked. Her wisdom creased around the glint in her eyes, her own pain scarred on the surface of her skin. But she wore it like a crown made of wildflowers, blood, and sage. Tell yourself you survived, the priestess healer said, her fingers finding the fire in the branches under my skin, quietly sensing the uprooting. It started slow, like a flower's torturous petals trying to open in the sun, but the heavy hand strangles them, as it does with all things that are beautiful and wild. Tired of running and tired of those dirty hands covering my mouth, a thunderous crack of breaking bones as I exploded in an exhale, a roaring, wailing scream, a shakedown that shook me down to dust. Inhale, exhale. Okay.
You have 1 minute.
Okay, this is a very short one.
Okay.
I live in Ojai, California, which was, the name Ojai comes from the word Ahai, which is from the native Chumash here. Ahai autumn. So easy it is to forget how the light lays itself down in a mountain meadow for an afternoon siesta in Ahai's autumn. Only the October sun slants in, scattering ridges light and valleys dark, a woven basket of layered foothills with staggered shades of sage and cypress against cerulean sky. Sacred datura dots low-lying meadows with its sweet, fragrant poison, or is it journey medicine, a wise woman called Mamoy, who sets the bones of beloved Shumash. Blazing starflower flourishes in the ghosts of last winter's landslides, tropical lemon bursts of petals reminiscent of summer, but its blazes bloom in the fall, mirroring the tilted sunbeams on a hillside in the valley of the moon. Thank you.
Thank you, Leigh Scarber. That was beautiful. Our next reader is Marty Espinola. Hi, Marty. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. It's an honor to be here, and it's a treat to see people's faces here. I'm a nature photographer who sometimes writes poems, and they are often inspired by my experiences with my camera. My first poems are about a local urban park that I've gladly adopted here in Massachusetts. The photo behind me is a picture of the lake in the park. It's called Forest Park. It's in Springfield, Massachusetts. It overlooks the Connecticut River Basin, one of the largest urban parks in the country, and includes many acres of woodlands, hiking trails, aquatic gardens, flower gardens, a lake for fishing, and even a zoo, a very nice and quite large zoo. And my first poem is called Summer in Forest Park. On the ridge above the kingdom of concrete rests a treasure of forested acres, a harbor for harried urbanites. The sky, naked of windows and wires, welcomes cloud shadows that roam restlessly over tangles of treetops that dance to the waves of a wandering wind. The woodland is host to a multitude of creatures. You can delight in deer and duck and dragonflies. Appreciate even exotic animal species, alpaca, Arctic fox, and alligator. Ponds lie peaceful within its borders, their waters a serene sanctuary, welcoming both fin and feathered friend. Children run to the water's edge, gleefully pointing at bird or bug, their smiles blossoming at every new discovery. Among the ash, hickory, maple, and oak, one can explore ever-winding pathways as concealed critters call to one another, sprinkling the silence with their cryptic conversations. My steps here are cushioned by ages of earth as I stride lightly upon this protected land, hoping it will remain a nurturing retreat, freely welcoming the footsteps of future generations. And now one called The Brooks of Forest Park. Within spirited and shy waters, silver sparkles blink, dancing on beams of sunlight to the tones of torrents past. Stones rest in secure beds, massaged by swirling stream, content to be aging with grace, daring to be dislodged. The brook bends with every easy grace, carving circuitous paths carelessly, spreading life, flowing towards some future home. And appropriate to this time of year, one about geese. Goose wisdom. I wonder as I watch the arrows of wild geese, horizons seeming their perpetual destination, as they endlessly wave their wings to some avian god, each of them preparing the way for the one behind. Do they follow because they trust their leader knows the way? Or is their trust in something beyond sight, in some skyscape within each of them? It makes me wonder. Is the destination as important as being part of the flock, knowing you'll get there together, trusting in each other's knowing? I wonder. And the next poem is something that actually happens, not to me, but I think to a lot of folks. It's called Morning Crow Call. You have my attention. What do you want so early and loudly in my day? You seem to be repeating something. Are you wanting me to awaken, urging me to do something? Or are you daring me to catch you playing at some crow game? I imitate your throaty call and you ignore me, leaving me wondering how to respond. Perhaps you are lonely. Do you seek another crow call? Perhaps a mate? Or do you just want to wake the world to the mysterious message of crows? And the last one is called A Winter's Daybreak. The snow fell slow and wet last night, painting wild wedding dresses on the trees, while the willing land lay silent and still, surrendering to the kisses of snowflakes. The sunrise surprised the scene, spotlighting the decorations dropped in the dark, inviting the mountains and valleys to celebrate the dawn of this wondrous winter's day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marty. And it goes with the beautiful pictures behind you as well. Our next reader is Maya Williams. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for this space, and thank you, Liz, for organizing so much of this. I'll be reading 2 poems from the Root to Seed anthology for Black and Brown poets in the Northeast. And if I have time, I'll read another poem, but in the meantime, I'm just going to read 2 poems. When driving on I-295, I saw a beautiful brown hawk gliding in midair. I never saw one this close before. Then, 6 feet below its flight, I saw bloodied, butchered pieces of a deer upon the ground. Damn it! Mia was right. I can see the bright side of roadkill. I want to push out pessimism, prove them wrong. But I can't. Beauty was witnessed and fed well. This next poem is a contrapuntal called The Path to Heaven is by Lifeboat. You may not have all your Christian ducks, but you have your Protestant hopes for the afterlife. You don't know if it's correct to say you are agnostic, but you do know grief makes you swim to carry all your loved ones. Pray and hold swooping souls to heaven's waiting room. Freezing body of water frames your soul thriving, walking, acknowledging your body alive and grateful for this soul, trying your damnedest, what Grandma Reese would prefer. You may not always get it right. In a row, about heaven 6 years in a row, believe in heaven and lifeboat oh so gently. An ocean of sky up and down gives you comfort. The stream of discount Jesuses merrily strolling up Capisec Pond, merrily in ethereal gray and white, merrily exhaling fog, merrily this breath, this one life, your blessedest is to get right, but a priceless Jesus is only a dream. You may not have all your Christian ducks in a row, but you have your Protestant hopes for the afterlife in a row. You don't know if it's correct to say you were agnostic about heaven 6 years in a row, but you do know grief makes you believe in heaven and swim to lifeboat, carry all your loved ones oh so gently, pray and hold an ocean of sky up and down, swooping souls to heaven's waiting room. It gives you comfort. The freezing body of water, stream, frames of discount Jesuses, merrily your soul thriving, walking, strolling up Capisec Pond, merrily acknowledging in ethereal gray and white, merrily your body alive and exhaling fog, merrily grateful for this soul, this breath, this one life, trying your damnedest. Your blessedest is what Grandma Reese would prefer, to get right. But you may not always get it right. A priceless Jesus is only a dream. And apparently it's a golden shovel too. It includes the lyrics of Row, Row, Row Your Boat. And I have time for one more piece. This is an ekphrasis poem of a painting by David Driscoll called Pines at Night 2, along with other paintings of his. My partner and I once strolled along a trail in Freeport and came across a tree split down its middle, most likely from previous lightning leaning against another tree. The other tree, with its sturdy roots gripping the depths of the soil for dear life, I thought, provided a daily mantra to its sibling. I got you. If you go down, I go down with you. David Driscoll developed a specific fascination for pine trees, organisms with more faces than any human can ever amount to. As David processed the pine's jagged leaves blowing air kisses to the blue-black night sky, staring at the slight bright moon, how often did he get to see them hold each other? How many faces through their bark in each transitional season made him think, to explore the two faces he was capable of? Did he ever tell the Archangel Gabriel to tell the pines his thankfulness for their service so he can provide his service to fellow humans? The humans left behind, driving, biking, strolling past plethora of trees. Thank you again for this space. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for reading from Root to Seed, another nature culture publication, but not in the Writing the Land series, but still one of ours, and very happy to have that. Our next reader is Felicia Mitchell. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm going to read one of the poems from the Writing the Land project within Virginia. And my site was Whitfield, and then a couple of poems from this book, Waltzing with Horses. It's all a blur, but anyway. Ode to Tool Creek, White's Mill, begins with an epigraph. What was once a name forgotten, then Shapaki Sipi, then Hogahichi, then the Holston River, its creeks veining through the hills of Virginia. Ebony jewel-winged damselflies flitting from one patch of speedwell to another have visited this creek since it carved a path through valley to river before a mill was built, before the creek was named or renamed, water cycling and recycling between earth and sky. There was a time this creek quenched thirst, gave rise to fish, bathed hands and feet, and then, channeled to pond, to sluice, to overshot wheel, this land's water served its community anew, creating cornmeal that is out of this world, literally out of this world, out of this earth, earth moving rain and groundwater into corn. Even now, the creek persists, winding through hills, the willows and wild plants and flowers on its bank, as lush as they ever were, wrens chatting, crows cawing, damselflies flitting, frogs croaking, water rushing as it reaches for the North Fork of the Holston River, its path by White's Mill, a passage through time. I enjoy doing the research. I love research. So the next poem I'm going to read is again from the area where I live, and it's a poem called Up from Tumbling Creek. Rhododendron roots laddered up from Tumbling Creek. So I grabbed one and then another to climb back to the road while my son shook his hands free, bare feet skipping rock to rock. And Tumbling Creek is an area near where I live. And then this next poem is set on Mount Rogers, which is also near where I live and hike a lot. Waltzing, and it has wild ponies, but I call them horses. Waltzing with horses. After you've climbed to the top of the world, or at least to the top of Virginia. The only place to go is down and down again, even if it means climbing over the same rocks and navigating the same trail backwards while carrying a heart as heavy as your backpack, because the hike will end just like a day or a book. But there is more than one way to write an ending. In one, you're waltzing in a meadow, wild horses watching you and your partner. Night comes and goes again, moon waning, devil's paintbrush gone to seed. The ending is that there is no ending, only the dance. In another, there is a full moon, and you're in your car heading north on the highway instead of south, while moonlight like hobblebush petals falls softly on the side of the road, illuminating a familiar trail. Either way, you realize there is a reason to come down. And then the next poem, the last poem, is nearby my house. I live in the country, and I walk a lot here just on the country roads. And this is called One Green Heron at Dusk. That green heron needs a telephone pole as much as I need a camera in my hand. But there it is, making do without a tree or without fish that used to be in this creek. Tomorrow it will fly somewhere else. This evening, nothing is the matter. Dragonflies fly, the green heron eats. Straining my neck as it shifts its neck, I am seeking the perfect image of this heron. That is the one I will leave by the creek. The pictures in my camera just shadows of a time that has come and gone, like the fish that used to swim here. Later, if I close my eyes and clear my mind, I will see a green heron as patient as a green heron, without a camera lens between us. And I should mention, I live in Washington County in southwestern Virginia. It's where my poems are from. Thanks to everybody for putting this together.
They're really beautiful, and thank you so much for reading.
Thank you.
Our next reader is Chelsea Harlan. Welcome.
Thank you, Lise. This is so wonderful, and what a cool project to be a part of. I'm stoking a fire in the other room, so I can't imagine better company than just listening to everybody's poetry. This is cool, and it's neat to hear certain recurring words and phrases. So Felicia, I'm also in Virginia, and I'll sort of bookend your green heron poem with my blue heron poem. So this is called Sleeping Weather. There was a great blue heron down by the pond. I found flat ground to lay on by the withery rose and read until my head became hot. There was hardly any sound all day aside from my singing to myself in the woods, and afternoon by the stone building where I saw Alex wrapped in brown flannels. I told her I was taking home a bowl full of blackberry cobbler, and she said, "Nice," the bowl on the passenger seat in my car. They're calling for a frost tonight, whoever they are. This next one's called Something Else. The mountain wears cold, wet braids. The seasons, like old friends or like mirrors, run drunkenly, incidentally into one another, exchanging, probably, old pleasantries. Or is it inevitably? They have been passing like this for a long time. We cannot know how long. But when the pear tree throws its pears against the tool shed roof, we know it's almost the end again. What of the stories that make you feel like you think you see it coming? That something, that feeling. I said of the visiting poet's reading, dang, that was something. without knowing at all what I meant, however, knowing clearly how I felt. There is a box in the storage room at the library. Well, okay, there are many boxes, all of them small and organized and waterproof and stacked neatly, and one box is for felt scraps. One box is for chalk, one for glitter, and so on. But it's the felt scraps that I like the best. The box contains a color green somewhere between forest and storm and ocean. Do you know what I mean? That deep leaf, that seaweed, that jungle myrtle, that vernal laurel, that awful mystery, that soft felt scrap run through between my thumbs like fur. The color that has existed like this for a long time. When I say like this, I want to gesture with my arms a great distance. So I'm going to read a couple from my book called Bright Shade. This one's called Here and There. The clouds move in like quiet neighbors. The wind walks down the hill. The cover crop has gotten really tall, and I love you. And the seas are rising, and the meteors are showering abstractly, and there are too many guns, and I love you. I wish I knew what calls the devil from the pits. I have a few theories, scattered though they are, like wildflowers in the marble yard. And I have held a mare by her matted mane and clucked my tongue to summon spring. And the azaleas mirror the godlight, and the dogwoods really do glow in the dark, like the meteors aforementioned. I love you, and the horses idle like old cars in the shaggy field. Everyone is poor, but somehow has horses. I can't explain it, but I wish I could, or how it is a horse is ever a breakable thing. Got a couple more. This is called Homecoming Pain. Bring back the woolly mammoth and the silky mammoth and the sequin mammoth. Bring back fringe, bring back profiteroles. Bring it on back, please just take it on home. Send us back before we were ever here, ever etched into the trunk of a tree, before a person could ever do any harm. Take it down a notch, take it slow, and go back, back, back to the pre-dawn past. Bring back my Bonnie to me and my mammoth. Bring back the floppy disk, bring only one copy, burnt image of a memory of my mammoth and me, mommy and mammoth and me. Nature, where the chef works for no man, for no money. And then this is a really quick one. This is kind of my COVID poem. It's called Leaving the House. Leaving the house, like salad, usually requires dressing. Okay. I've got two more quick things. This is kind of a fall poem. I just had to share it. This is also that. The sun is a pumpkin. The pumpkin is a small sun. The pumpkin is a small, hard sun. The pumpkin is fun. Orange is fun, and the hard orange sun is a small, fun orange pumpkin. The orange pumpkin is in the fall. The fall of the orange sun is small. The hard orange fall is fun, and the orange is in the feather. The sun is the hard orange feather. The fun feather is the small spirit. The orange spirit is the twist, and the twist is the small fun fall. The twist is the dance. Yeah, thank you again, Lise. I've been visiting House Mountain over the course of the year, and I've seen it through every season except for winter yet. So anyway, this one's called The Wolf. I ran and ran with my book of ideas. I flopped, superfish-like, in the grass, careful not to crush the devil's paintbrush, with my undiagnosed delusions and my childish string cheese. I was so excited. What a difficult, terrible year. James, though, made no excuses. I was shown an example of steadfast behavior in the river, how it carries itself alive all the way to the ocean, through ancient darknesses, mostly good, transparent and open along the edges. The soul, as we know, remains to be seen, at large in the cool wilds of the body. And it's true, we hold within us all this water, but also mountains, acorns, madness, all the unspeakable wisdom at the center of the soul of the formidable woods. Thank you, God.
Thank you so much. Love that mammoth poem. Our next reader is Liliana Whitfield Barahas. Thank you for being here. Welcome.
Hello. Okay, so this first poem that I want to read is about my mom, because I'm actually able to have this opportunity because it was a birthday gift. So I thought it was very fitting. And this is called "And You Gave Me Wings." The trees breathe in and let out the sigh of your birth. From there, you are in the world, dancing through your mother's leaves, parting with a humble readiness. And when I, a blade of grass, see this, I am amazed at all these mighty forces. I call out to you from below. I say, push my back, uproot me so I can fly with you. I tell you in my next life, I will be a mighty tree. You say something to me in reply as I drift to the ground. I cannot hear what you say. I'll have to ask you next time. What a beautiful excuse to call out to you again. This next one is something that I worked on today, actually. I thought that it was really cool, so I'm going to share it. And it's titled, "Make Me Mine Again." It was always cold. Hagil akam orsht was spoken like, I love you, and it was freezing. I smiled widely and wildly. Even in the sunken faces, the trees were surely enough. But then I was infiltrated with "Me haces un favor" and "Toca," which was spoken like, I love you. The trees were dying, the grasses passing, bearing too much on their soul. As they were leaving, I stayed completely silent, so afraid that if I whispered, Hagil akam orsht, te amo con todo mi corazón, Estelium being with you, quédate conmigo, Hatelium show, no quiero morir aquí, it would fall on deaf ears, spoken like an I love you. And this is another one about my mom because I love her. So yeah, it's called "To My Celtic Warrior Woman." You crafted a fortress from simple twigs and leaves, then sewed them into cold steel and hiding and healing. You took a tattered cloth and laid a satin robe on my shoulders. I see your scars and open wounds. I see your tear-stained cheeks, taking every bit of the nothing that you were beaten with and bruised with, and gave me everything I grow in, that we sing in and dance in, hide in. I seem to have my own scars now, my own tear stains, my own wounds. But I will always remember our little fairy fortress, made of steel and made for two. And I write a lot about my family, actually. And this one is about my little brother and, just seeing his pain. And it's titled, "More Man Than Missile." He cries bullet tears as he approaches his target. He closes his eyes, hiccuping through the noxious fumes, apologizing profusely. In the darkness behind his eyes, there is a brief want for faith. But he looks at his target as he hits them. He is not a coward, not vile enough to rob them of his eyes, of the knowledge that he is with them, and so, so sorry. When impact is made, he screams, to bring any kind of noise during those few moments where there is nothing but silence and loss. He's grown to hate silence and solitude and screaming and crying. What can a flower give him but color? What can a butcher show him but blood? This one is called Little Girls Can Only Dream of Power. I used to pray to rule the world, simply for neat trinkets and sweet drinks. I used to pray humanity itself would cease, simply for calmness and stillness. I used to pray death would rock me to sleep, simply for safety and freedom. Oh, how children are so naive and plain. My newfound glory is so much more than that child could have ever imagined. I have placed the world in her open wounds and stuffed her with starlight and fire, sewed her shut with rivers and tall grass, poured the ocean in her eyes and boulders in her hands, glued wings to her shoulder blades with honey and sap, crowned her king. And yet she sits at the corner in my mind, afraid of power, too intimidated to wear the blood that was shed for her. And I think that's all I got.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Thanks.